Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 49th book club discussion. So, today we are discussing Arundhati Roy's The Ministry of Utmost Happiness. I have a slightly longer discussion today, so probably we'll take about 30 minutes for that. And then let's just like 5 minutes for each of us to just share our views. And I have some quotes too. Please do feel free to share your favorite quotes too. We'll see a little bit about the author, some interesting aspects about her process of writing this particular book, in fact, and about the book, some themes and quotes. So, Arundhati Roy was born in 1961 in Bengal, but she grew up in Kerala. She left home at 16 and headed for Delhi, where she enrolled on an architecture course and she married a fellow student. After a stint as a hippie in Goa, she returned to Delhi and she was spotted by the film director Pradeep Krishan, who went on to become her second husband. And she played what she calls as a tribal bimbo character in the 1985 film Masse Sahib. And she went on to write and to star in the film, in which Annie gives it to those ones. And she also wrote the script for her husband's 1992 film, which is Electric Moon. And in fact, most of her books, I think some of the good aspects of it is, I think, in the way she can literally visualize and picturize it and show. And most reviews say that's because of her initial stint as a screenwriter. Shortly afterwards, notoriety first struck when she penned an article criticizing Shekhar Kapoor's celebrated 1994 film Bandit Queen about the famed outlaw and the avenger of violated women, Fulan Devi. So Roy argued that Devi, who was shot dead in Delhi outside her home in 2001, had been exploited by the filmmakers. So, in the wake of this controversy, Roy then settled down to write the book that would eventually become The God of Small Things. And The God of Small Things, actually, I have another slide about it, but of course, it was a huge success. And after winning the Booker Prize, she spent nearly one whole year giving interviews and promoting the book. She was and staying in hotels around the world, which she described as ridiculously posh. And in the 20 years, of course, the second book was The Ministry of Utmost Happiness, which came after 20 years. And in between these 20 years, Roy has published dozens of essays and nonfiction books. She made documentaries. She protested against the government corruption, Hindu nationalism, environmental degradation, and inequality. She campaigned for Kashmiri independence, Maoist rebels, and indigenous land rights. And she featured on Time magazine's list of the world's 100 most influential people. So, to her political fans, she's the radical left voice of principled resistance. To her critics, the worst sort of adolescent idealist, unrealistic, self indulgent. She has faced criminal charges of contempt and sedition. She's been imprisoned and she even fled India briefly in fear for her life. We'll also talk about that also. Her legal battles in India's courts have been going on for decades, becoming a sort of relentless judicial soundtrack to her life. She references them with an eye rolling air of exasperation. So, The God of Small Things features sexual intercourse between twin siblings, and when it was first published, five lawyers got together and filed a case saying that I was corrupting public morality, criminal offense, and blah, blah, blah. This is something her words in an interview. So in 2002, Roy's campaign against the Narmada Dam project in Gujarat led her to be ruled in criminal contempt, and she was jailed for one day, a symbolic day. In the past, she has also been charged with sedition for criticizing India's policy towards Kashmir, and now faces an ongoing charge of contempt for an article she wrote in defense of a professor who uses a wheelchair, who was sentenced to life imprisonment for anti national activities. Um, I think most of you know who is the person. The case has been working its way through the Indian courts with unending monotony. So, when asked about it, I'm sorry. Sorry, 1 minute. Yeah. Okay. So when asked about it, she says, the contempt case, and she grimaces. You see, the thing about this case is it's not the punishment, it's the process that is the punishment. One of the standard ways of harassing people is they'll file cases in 100 towns against somebody, and then it's appear here, go there, got to have a lawyer, have you filed this affidavit. This is their strategy with everyone whom the state wants to silence. Everywhere, writers are being punished by mobs, by caste groups. So it's just a very turbulent time in which to put the boat in the water, you know. So this is from an interview which she gave to Guardian. From all the political and judicial animosity, the interviewer continues, I'd formed the impression that Roy must be some sort of persona non grata in India. But she says nothing could be further from the truth. In her daily life, she never meets anyone who regards her as unpatriotic. No, absolutely not. It's the opposite. This claim is difficult to verify or dispute, the interviewer continues. Thousands of adoring admirers gather to hear her make speeches all over the world. But when I ask where she feels the greatest sense of like minded support, without hesitation, she replies, Oh, India, without a doubt. I'm not some lone person. I function within a huge river and stream and a rising, rushing current of solidarity. So, a little bit about The God of Small Things. So, Roy began writing the manuscript for The God of Small Things in 92, and she finished it 4 years later in 96, and it was published in the following year. The potential for the story was first recognized by HarperCollins editor Pankaj Mishra, who sent it to three British publishers. In fact, Pankaj Mishra is the one who read the Ministry of Utmost Happiness also for the first time. She thanks him for it in her at the end of this book. So Roy received 500,000 pounds as advance for the book, and the rights for the book was sold immediately in 21 countries. The novel went on to win the Booker Prize in 97. It has sold 8 million plus copies in 42 languages. After that, she pursued a career in social activism, appearing at anti war rallies and using her celebrity status to raise the profiles of unfashionable causes like Kashmiris on death row, the rights of tribal communities in India, hardscrabble suicides in the country's farming belt. The Ministry of Utmost Happiness is the second novel by her. It was published in 2017, 20 years after her debut. Her life as a political activist more than explains what she has been doing in the intervening 2 decades, protesting against ecological depredations on behalf of Kashmir independence and against Hindu nationalism, as well as fighting charges of sedition laid against her by the Indian government, left her little free time. Her prolific career as a writer of non-fiction from 2002's The Algebra of Infinite Justice to books on capitalism, globalization, and democracy has brought her to the fore as a polemicist and political philosopher. So, just a little bit more about her thoughts about the book, The Ministry of Utmost Happiness. I wanted to write where I'm just drifting around, the way I do in Delhi, in mosques and strange places, as I have all my life. Just delighting in all the crazies and the sweethearts, and the joy in the saddest places and the unexpectedness of things. I never want to walk past anyone. I want to sit down and have a cigarette and say, Hey man, what's going on? How is it? That is, I think, the book. Caste is about dividing people up in ways that preclude every form of solidarity. Because even in the lowest castes, there are divisions and subcastes, and everyone's co opted into the business of this hierarchical, siloized society. This is the politics of making a grid of class, of caste, of ethnicity, of religion. And then making the grid ever more fine is very much part of how you rule the world. Saying you're a Muslim, you're a Hindu, you're a Shia, you're a Sunni, you're a Bareli, you're a Brahmin, you're a Saraswat Brahmin, you're a Dalit, you're gay, you're straight, you're trans, and only you can speak for yourself. And there's no form of solidarity being allowed. So, what people think of as freedom is really slavery. So, these are I think this was her overwhelming feeling of why she wrote the book, and she also mentions about this in one or two different places in the book, also about the subdivisions and subcastes, which system which goes on. Okay, so the how she wrote the book is also a very little interesting. So in 2007 or so, she said that she's going to be working on her second book. And immediately, there was a lot of furor and it was all in the press, though the book took another 10 years to actually come out. So, despite that, there was so much of expectancy for the book, and there was already publishers contacting and asking her for it and everything. And just before, so she went on to write it, and she took her own long time to finish it. But just before she could finish it, there was a case against her in court for which she could be arrested. And it was regarding some article or something which she had written. And since she wanted to finish the book and she knew that she wouldn't be able to if she continued being here, she had to flee to London for a short period of time just to finish this book. And she says that whenever she thinks back to that time, that is one of the things which she feels so shameful about, and very uncomfortable about, that she actually had to flee the country, even though it was for a very brief period of time. So when Arundhati completed her new novel, she told her literary agent actually that I don't want all this bidding and vulgarity and all that. I wanted all the interested publishers instead to write a letter to me describing how they understood the book. And so that's exactly what the publishers did. And they sent her the letters, after which she chose the publisher. I think this is Penguin, right? So she chose Penguin. But the agent says that Penguin's offer was probably half of what the offer which was given by the other publishers. Still, she went ahead and she sold it to them because she said uh, that particular publisher actually understood what she wanted to convey much better than what anyone else could really, to, do with her book. So yeah, so she sold it to them despite whatever their offer was. This is a review in The Guardian of the Ministry of Utmost Happiness. The Ministry of Utmost Happiness is a curious beast, baggy, bewilderingly overpopulated with characters, frequently achronological, written in an often careless and haphazard style, and yet capable of breathtakingly composed and powerful interludes. The idea that the personal is political and vice versa informs its every sentence, but it also interrogates that assumption, examining its contours and consequences. This is another review in from New York Times. Roy effortlessly captures the love Anjum feels for an abandoned child named Zainab, whom she adopts as a daughter, and the friendship he develops with a young man who calls himself Saddam Hussein, and who also takes up residence in the graveyard. Roy's depiction of Tilo and Musa's furtive romance in Kashmir has a cinematic quality, a reminder of her work as a screenwriter, as well as a genuine poignancy and depth of emotion. It's when Roy turns from the specifics of her characters' lives and tries to generalize about the plight of India that her writing can grow labored and potentious. Normality in our part of the world is a bit like a boiled egg. Its humdrum surface conceals at its heart a yolk of egregious violence. It is our constant anxiety about that violence, our memory of its past labors, and our dread of its future manifestations that lays down the rules for how a people as complex and as diverse as we continue to coexist, continue to live together, tolerate each other, and from time to time murder one another. This is from her words. Uh, should I continue with the themes and then we'll have our discussion? Think I think we
Yeah.
can do that. Okay. So one of the important themes in the book was identity, I think, gender and identity and the search for self, basically. So there were the fluid and non-binary identities are central in the book. So Anjum, born intersex and raised male as Aftab, embraces her hijra identity, refusing to fit the male or female binary. Tilo defies traditional roles as lover, mother, or nationalist. She's difficult to classify by nationality, religion, or even by narrative form. Roy shows identity as something which is self chosen and evolving. It's not a fixed biological or a social label. And this challenges the patriarchal and heteronormative expectations, suggesting that freedom and dignity come from claiming one's authentic self. Again, over there, when Anjum returns from the Gujarat trip, so she starts again dressing up as a male. So, f- freedom comes from claiming one's authentic self, but I think there also she tried to show the lack of freedom also in a way. And so, this was one of the themes in the book. The other theme which runs through is the marginalization and the politics of belonging. So the novel foregrounds those who are excluded by the mainstream, like Hijras, Dalits, Muslims, street dwellers, orphans, political dissenters. Anjum, Tilo, and their companions embody alternative forms of citizenship outside the nation state. So these are people which are not really, it's not like they're not recognized, but they're not really recognized by society itself, not just the country. So the Jannat guest house becomes a metaphor for a parallel republic where belonging is based on care, not on religion, caste, or legality. Another powerful theme which is explored is about violence, power, and the modern Indian state. So, Roy documents state and communal violence. She talks about the 2002 Gujarat uh, program, which scars Anjum, and about the long running Kashmir conflict with its disappearances, the mass graves, the daily militarization, etc. Intelligence surveillance, media manipulation, political opportunism, all this are also shown and how they erode democracy. So the state is depicted as both, and sorry, just a minute. So the state is depicted as both protector and predator, using nationalism to justify the cruelty. Religion, spirituality, and pluralism. So Islam, Hinduism, and Sufi mysticism intermix throughout the novel. So Anjum lives beside a Sufi shrine and she names her guest house Jannat, which means heaven. Hindu funeral rituals and Muslim prayers coexist in the graveyard. Roy suggests that spiritual pluralism, rather than sectarianism, offers solace and hope. Uh, we can There are many instances where we can see her asking, whether um, I think they ask which kind of a funeral do you want, and towards the last also when she talks about uh, communism also, I forgot the exact word. Sorry, lal. I think it's lal. So how do you cremate a communist? So that's the word. So I forgot the exact name which she uses to say that. Yeah. And then they say, no, we don't have any particular way in which a communist is actually cremated. That kind of reminded me of for the same which happens for the uh, transsexuals also. For them also, there is all the funeral homes kind of don't want to bury them or burn them, or so they also end up coming to her for burial. So it was a very interesting way of drawing parallels. I just have some quotes. Let me stop share and I will allow you to share your thoughts on the book. Shivani, you're new here. Would you like to go first? I'm not sure if she's online. Anybody else, feel free to. Um Shamal Raoji, would you like to go first?
One second.
Sure.
As we initially said, actually, the novel has a very wide canvas.
Mm,
You cannot just say it is fiction, or you just cannot say it is a non-fiction.
okay.
Sometimes fiction overtakes non-fiction the way it presents, and it's very current
Mm,
and very factual. One side, if you have Anjum, on the other side, you have Pillow. If
mm,
you look at the non-fiction, or it is almost journalistic in the way she has written. I will say a few things. It begins with 9/11 and then burning of 60 Hindu pilgrims,
mm,
Hindu extremist groups murdering Muslims,
mm,
setting up of Muslim refugee camps, and even Anjum tries to learn Gayatri Mantra.
mm,
Gaining of power by Hindu extremist power groups and rise of right.
mm,
Theme of Gujarat talking of avenging centuries of Muslim rule. A Sikh president who speaks like marionette.
mm,
And killing of Muslim for carrying a cow carcass by mobs.
mm,
Declaration by a Supreme Court judge that people who cannot afford to live in cities should not live in Delhi. And anti-corruption protests supported by Hindu millionaires and Gujarat CM support to the movement and his election subsequently as Prime Minister. And there is a subtle reference to Anna Hazare as well.
mm,
And observation by one of the characters, that is Saddam, that this is all scam. Mob lynching of Sikhs in the aftermath of assassination of Indira Gandhi in 1984.
mm.
Somehow I felt somewhere we have also covered the great Indian novel by Shashi Tharoor.
Yeah.
He also juxtaposes our history, current history, with the epic narrative of Mahabharata. Of course, in this case, there is no juxtaposition, but she speaks more on the current or recent events. That is why I find actually more than fiction in the book. There is a lot of non-fiction,
Mm,
and she is very much opinionated. Not unlike others, she doesn't soft pedal an issue. She comes with a forceful argument in support of her. That
mm.
speaks volumes of her social activism. As you have just that dam, Narmada Bacha Andolan,
Correct.
all those things.
Yeah.
Perhaps she spends more time in activism than writing books, or you can alternate this way, that way. But there is this component of activism in her thinking or in her activities. That
Mm,
is what I felt overall initially. And you can enjoy the book only if you can read the way she has written. I can't say this should have been like this. But if you are very much involved in this social activism, you will definitely drawn to read the book. You can appreciate the nuances in it.
mm,
That is what I can be. That is what I felt. And there are many cases. There are other things also. She brought a lot of new things that I was not aware of. For example, maybe these are all small things. There is Bill Holiday, who is a jazz musician.
mm,
I never heard about him. Osip Mandels, Russian poet. Jean Genet, French novelist. Mick
mm,
Jagger, English musician. Rosalind by Tumri singer. This reading a book for me was a new what I call
mhm,
experience. You cannot rush through the book. It is
mm,
a book that has to be savored. Then only you can appreciate.
mhm,
Because when I heard Bill Holiday, jazz musician, believe me, I was tempted to go to YouTube and put his name there. What actually this music is? I was not aware. Similarly, about that Jean Genet's French novelist, what top class books he has written, what actually was the theme. That's it, propels you to venture into other areas which are unknown areas for us. That way also it helps educate in a way. Well, this is what I felt. Maybe there are more books. Maybe others may add. I can be wrong or right. That is a different
No,
thing.
no, you are right, of course. Um, yes, Tulika, would you like to go? Suchi, yes.
No, no, I was just going to say that it got published in 2017. I was just wondering why she didn't cover demonetization. I think it happened after she published. I
Uh,
mean, the,
Demonetization was 2018 or 19, is it?
No, 17.
17. Maybe it happened afterwards.
That
See,
I think
she must have finished a book around
finished the
2015 or something. After
yeah.
it takes a year to get it published.
So that is
Yeah.
why it was not there.
Probably.
I mean,
I
lot of
yeah.
Modi bashing she's done in the
Yes,
book,
yes,
Mm,
yes.
yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
She basically political thing. She's a leftist, madam.
Yeah,
So
Huh,
yeah.
naturally, she doesn't spare these rightist extremists. That is what
Correct.
yeah.
Correct.
there's a lot of political over colors in this.
Mm,
I, I felt like, I mean, she could have just written it's like a non-fiction. It's not a fiction. Jabardasti, they
Ah,
fictionalized the whole
ah.
thing, but it was
mm,
more of a non-fictional writing. And
correct.
she could have
She,
just taken one issue and
ah,
the way I said, like she could have written 4 books and
Mm,
proper
yeah,
fictions.
exactly.
That would have been better rather than just jumbling up the whole thing.
mm,
You said correctly. And there was a gap of 20 years. She was in a hurry to go as many actually issues
mm,
as possible. She
correct.
Yeah.
hurried. That is also another thing. That is why we feel overwhelmed with so many details, so many
Correct.
things that are written.
Yeah. Actually, there is like that, I think New York Times interview which asks her that this could have been completely two different books, with dealing with Anjum separately and Tilo separately.
Ah,
So why did you write it together? And so she gives some answer which was not very satisfactory. She says something like, both are broken, both have rivets running through them, and something like that. But yeah, but like what you said, I think it's really true for her. But somewhere I think when I read about when she describes the book, she says it's just like me just walking through Delhi
ah,
and meeting all these different and weird characters. So
yes.
somewhere probably this is like how her life is. This is all these characters could probably be ones whom she's met in her life, and she just wants to share it. So it's not really how do I say it? Like what you said, maybe fiction, but more of a reflection of her life and stuff around her, probably, I think.
Ah.
I don't know.
And with that Gujarat rights, I can connect myself personally. During
Hmm.
this period, I was working in Gujarat, in Surat.
Oh my God. Okay.
That was the period I can feel her words, the
Hmm.
fear, the complexes, the tension, all those things. I can cite that example. I had an officer working under me who belonged to the other side. I think you can understand it.
Correct.
Mhm.
Hmm.
During that period, when there was escalation of disturbances, Surat was almost burning, ties, all those things. We had to smuggle him out of office to his residence in our vehicle to escape the disturbances and harm to him. What happened was we had a Maruti Omni given to us. Maruti Omni backside opposite seats are there. In the middle there is space. There is empty space. He
Correct.
was to made to sit on the floor of that Omni vehicle so that he will not be visible through windows to outside people. We took him, left him carefully in his house, and we returned. I can feel it. That is how things were there.
Hmm.
One more thing. I wanted to speak to him once. I rang up and मैंने पूछा ये सांप का घर है हाँ हाँ ये हिंदुओं का घर है भाई that is what he said. That means to utter a name of the other community was also what I call prohibited. That was the intensity of division between these two.
Hmm.
Similarly, that other side, there are several instances I can feel. Then I had become very careful. A customer who visits us, let us put he belongs to other community. I was careful. I was keeping one or two people who work under me along with me when I speak to them. We don't know what is going to happen. So I can connect with the book, those instances. Of course, as far as Kashmir is concerned, I never visited unless I'm Vaishno Devi only. So this I can connect here.
Hmm.
Another thing, I can connect with Tilo also. She is a stenographer, if you can recall.
Hmm.
I entered service as a stenographer. That is the thing.
Hmm.
These are the personal points that I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Shamal Ramji. Yeah.
She's a
The ca-
talented writer, there's no doubt about that. Because even when she described the Gujarat riots, and it was very, very real, and also the way it affects Anjum, that is very scary. Like she teaches her daughter the mantra, and she
Hmm.
wants him to be a boy
Exactly.
because she doesn't.
Exactly.
How it messes
Exactly.
with your head, with your
Correct.
psyche, you change as a person. She goes. The only problem is when you I personally didn't know what the book had, so I went in with a blank mind. So when you read about 100 200 pages of this, and when she totally abandons Anjum and goes off on a tangent, for me that's a huge disappointment, because I want to know what is happening in her life. But
Correct.
I'm not getting to see that. I'm suddenly introduced to Tilotama, and then to
Ah,
Musa and Nagarjun, and
Hmm.
like so it's very difficult for me to cut myself off from a narrative that I was following and go into something else. And I don't think
very
it is
correct.
right for an author
Very
to
correct.
thrust her meanderings or her. You can do it in a memoir, but
Yeah.
you cannot do it in a fictional novel. It is not right to say that I'm just writing about the people I'm meeting. No, you can't do that. You cannot do.
That's not a novel.
That's
No,
what, it's not a novel,
Yeah.
exactly.
She could have
see,
done her
uh,
essays
Hmm.
Huh.
separately, and it would have made for very good reading. But you cannot do this. It messes
and
with
if you
fiction
read
readers.
another book of her, Ajadi, you will feel the similarities. She has only essays in that book, Ajadi.
Hmm.
Ah.
Okay.
So her thrust of thinking and other things you can feel. How come actually she writes those things and in an abrupt way, as Madam has just suggested, from Anjum she shifts over to Tilottama. It's
Yeah.
very abrupt.
Correct.
A reader is shocked. That is also a point. Where I'm going, where she really taking us like that.
Also, that that whole sequence of various protesters and each one, why are they protesting? That when
Ah.
I read that, that was where I kind of lost all hope.
Also, there's this English book for children. She's doing these short stories. Did you read that bit? She,
Yes,
she
yes.
she's making up these
They
short
are not
stories.
short, very shocking events she describes.
Yeah,
Maybe
Describes for
why?
the
some
kid.
10 or
Yeah.
12
Yeah,
small, small
I
paragraphs, small letters. They are
just skipped
shocking.
all of that. It had no relevance to it, doesn't move the plot ahead. It doesn't help create the atmosphere. It's just there.
And
Hmm.
what about the diary? Mother,
That's not
for
the
her mother,
book
she
that
was the stenographer and she was writing
Yeah.
something. Sorry to say, I didn't read them. I just skipped half of
skip.
it.
Hmm.
Yeah, but a
Yeah.
lot of it was just gibberish.
Gibberish.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, why would you read that? I don't know.
Incidentally, Shah Rukh Khan acted with her in that play, in in which Annie gives it to those ones.
Oh,
Acha,
okay.
okay.
Really? Wow.
Yeah,
That's
he
interesting.
plays this horribly gay character, and he looks terrible. But yeah, he was there.
Oh, have you watched it?
No, I've seen clips of it somewhere when I was stalking Shah Rukh Khan. So
Okay.
Oh, so Tulika accepts it online in front
ah,
of everybody.
100%.
Stalking Shah Rukh Khan. Great. So actually, I completely agree with your thoughts. In fact, just like you, Tulika, my mother could not finish the book. Also, she also after some time she was like, I can't read this anymore. And
Yeah,
she also, I think she read
I
250,
tried.
300 pages and she gave up.
Yeah, I used to talk to Suchi, and suddenly she was 100 pages. We thought we read it together. So suddenly she was 100 pages ahead of me. So then I'd also, yeah, chalo, let me try. But then last 100 pages, I thought like there are so many good books waiting for me.
Actually,
But
I finished it today. Last 100 pages I read today.
okay, I read the last, I think, 40 pages or so today.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is correct, Tulika madam. I also woke up at 4 o'clock and covered the last paragraph. For us, actually, it is early hours, 4 o'clock in the morning, early hours.
Yeah. Uh,
Early morning,
Shamal
actually.
Rao ji is in US at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
4 a.m. I woke up, put an alarm, and covered that last page, rushed
Oh
through.
my God, the dedication.
Uh,
Mm.
Otherwise, I thought I'll cut a sorry figure like the last time. Perforce I completed. Madam will not spare me.
Mm.
Thank you.
Good, good. So I have some quotes, I think. Let me share the quotes. Anybody else? Sorry, I forgot. Meghalay is here. Meghalay, would you like to share?
Actually, I didn't read the book yet. I just got it and I didn't read it. I wanted to join for a long time, so I thought, okay,
Yes, we are so glad you joined us. And you should definitely join us for the next one. It's going to be the 50th one.
yeah, looking forward to joining with you
Yeah.
guys. So
And
interesting to hear all of you talk, and I mean, you gave me the full picture of the book,
um,
and
all
I
spoilers included.
Yamaji couldn't what to say, he couldn't contain himself. That's why he joined the early morning also. Share what he felt. Yeah.
Glad
So,
to have you. The next one I think will be an interesting read, so you should
yeah,
definitely join it, and it'll be our
looking
50th one also.
forward to. And
Yeah.
nice to hear you guys talk always. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think my mother would you like to tell something, Ma? She had read about 250 plus pages of the book. And Shivani, would you like to share anything? Sorry, can't see if Shivani are there or. I think Sarit has read other books of Arundhati Roy. Would you like to share anything else about it?
No, I have not quite read Arundhati
You
Roy's
okay?
fiction. Non-fiction I have read.
Yeah, non-fiction.
It's
Yeah.
very forthright and very, very well written with a lot of feeling. But I have not read fiction.
Yeah. Anything about the non-fiction books?
No, it just shows the passion with which she expounds the causes of the unrepresented people, the tribals, and others. So there is one book where she had actually spent some time, I think 30 days or something, with Naxals in the forest. And then she has written about that experience. It gives a very different picture of their lives and their ideals and stuff. So, yeah, that is one book that I had read. And then I have read pieces of some other books on global issues of how the developed nations are, particularly the US, is running something like an empire in the modern world. Yeah,
Okay.
all well argued and well articulated books.
Thank you. One more thing which I just got reminded was one funny incident which she had shared about, and I had wanted to share it with all of you. So there are, of course, there are a lot of these hundreds of cases which are put against her in all these various towns and small places all around India. So she says that, like, when in the interview, she was just saying that some of these cases are put only because the person who put the case immediately gets this immediate media spotlight for putting a case against her. And so she was recollecting an incident where that person had put the case only for that spotlight, for that media spotlight. So she ends up going to the court, and at the court, waits for her with a bouquet, and he's so glad to see her. Oh, you came, and he goes and he gives her the bouquet and all that. And she's like, this is the person who put a case against me. So that felt very sad in a way, and very funny too. So her interviews are also very funny about a lot of her incidents across, her days in various places and in various different situations. In fact, another reason why an appreciation for the book has been that certain things which she mentions in the book, little details like about certain code words, certain words which are used by militants, certain words which are used by the military, by the police for code words, etc., are actually true. And so that couldn't have been, she wouldn't have been able to write that unless and until she had first-hand experience or first-hand in touch with these people. So the
Yes.
authenticity of the book is much appreciated among circles.
Why the book is named Ministry of Utmost Happiness? I mean,
So
why exactly?
that place, that Jannat, is considered as the utmost happiness, the
Yes,
place of
okay,
utmost happiness. So
okay,
the ministry of utmost happiness, because it's like considered like a parallel government which is there, a
okay,
parallel ministry probably which is running there
okay, that way.
that
So
way.
their president is Anjum,
Probably.
Founder member.
Founder
founder member.
member,
Yeah.
correct.
But she does write well. Like even the
Yes,
police
yes.
atrocities that she describes in Kashmir,
Mhm.
it is bone chilling.
Yeah, bone chilling. Her descriptions are so good, and even her language is really good.
Yeah, very.
And yeah, when I had a lot of quotes, I've shared a few. Let me share the screen. So these are quotes from her, that not exactly from the book, but I just thought these were interesting about her fiction writing experience, so I wanted to share them. So to me, there is nothing higher than fiction, nothing. It is fundamentally who I am. I am a teller of stories. For me, that's the only way I can make sense of the world with all the dance that it involves. I can't write it faster or slower than I have. It's like you're a sedimentary rock that's gathering all these layers. The difference between the fiction and the non-fiction is simply the difference between urgency and eternity. So she says
Oh,
that all her non-fiction was written to very strict deadlines and had to be quickly turned around because it was dealing with some particular issue which she wanted to spotlight as soon as possible. So there was so much of urgency when it comes to non-fiction, and the only difference what with fiction, she could take her own sweet time and work on it. So when people say this business of she's the voice of the voiceless, it makes me crazy. Royce nods. I say there's no voiceless. There's only the deliberately silenced, or the purposely unheard. These are quotes from the Ministry of Utmost Happiness.
I remember this one. It's so
Yeah.
beautifully said, no?
yeah,
Yeah.
true.
The moment I saw her, a part of me walked out of my body and wrapped itself around her. And there it still remains. Very beautifully said.
Very beautiful quote.
Enemies can't break your spirit, only friends
Yes,
can. This is also very beautifully said.
yes.
Very nice.
Need was a warehouse that
Yes.
could accommodate a considerable amount of cruelty. This is also, I felt so beautiful. And I
Yes.
actually took this quote and I put it inside the current book that I'm working on. So I thought somewhere I should include this as a quote with the Ministry of Utmost Happiness. Yeah.
One
And
day let it form a book in our group discussion.
my book,
Yes, why
no,
not?
no, no. It's still not, I don't know.
No,
I'm scared.
one day I said, I referred to future, ma'am.
Yeah, future. Let's hope. We only choose classics or ones which win awards. So I should first win an award for that.
Okay, we'll wait for that award also and wish you the best.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyway, you have that much of confidence in me. I'm so happy.
No, no, it happens. If not today, tomorrow, or day after, or still another day after. One who persists
Thank you,
wins the day.
Shamata.
That's all. Please.
Yeah. So love, after all, is the ingredient that separates a sacrifice from ordinary everyday butchery. So this was also, I thought, a little
Yeah.
interesting way of thinking. Trees raise their naked mortal branches to the sky like mourners stilled in attitudes of grief. And somehow, as soon as I read this, that picture was stuck in my head, and it like of a tree, of how it actually looks, very desolate. And if you think of it in that way, yeah.
Mm.
So the TV channels never ran out of sponsorship for their live telecasts of despair. They never ran out of despair. The crowd made room for the press respectfully. It knew that without the journalists and photographers, the massacre would be erased and the dead would truly die. So the bodies were offered to them in hope and anger, a banquet of death. History would be a revelation of the future as much as it was a study of the past. To whom did it matter? Did those to whom it mattered matter? This was also a very interesting way of writing. People, communities, castes, races, and even countries carry their tragic histories and their misfortunes around like trophies or like stock to be bought and sold on the open market. India belongs not to Punjabis, Biharis, Gujaratis, Madrasis, Muslims, Sikhs, Hindus, Christians, but to those beautiful creatures, peacocks, elephants, tigers, bears. So, with that happy note, I finish my presentation.
Great.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, all of you, for joining in. And so, our next read, the 50th read, has two books in tied up completely in the votes and everywhere from the email and from our group and everything. So, what do you say, Tulika? Shall we read Gone with the Wind for the 50th one and the 40 Rules of Love as the 51st one? I was just wondering if we could do that. Suchi, Shamal Raoji, Tulika,
Whichever one.
Henry.
Yeah, that's good. That's
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
That'll be good, I think, because both
Yeah.
the books seem to be having an equal number of votes.
Yeah.
It would be really, good for us to do
It's
that,
a
I think.
tie.
Then this will be Elif's another. I mean, you have read Elif Safak earlier also, no? We have
Yeah, there are rivers in the
It's in the
sky.
sky, huh? So this
Yeah.
will be another Elif Safak. Okay.
Yeah. So that was also really a good read. So I'm very excited to read 40 Rules of Love. I've never read it.
Huh.
Gone with the Wind is about a decade ago I read and absolutely loved it at that time. So would be happy to reread.
Yeah, Gone with the Wind will be good for
Yeah.
50th.
Okay.
This
So
thing,
that
yeah.
was my vote. That
Yeah,
book
okay.
was also I was thinking. I voted for it.
Okay. So great. Shivani, are you there online? I think she is not here. She joined us for the first time.
Wow.
Yeah. So, okay, Meghalay, then please do join us. So, Gone with the Wind for our next read. And
Yeah, good.
okay. Okay, then. Good, great. And
Okay, thank you, madam.
thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks for trying.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
all.
everyone,
Thank
for
you all.
joining
Thank you.
in. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye.